David Hogg, David Hogg, David Hogg. You've certainly made a name for yourself these days. You've managed to get yourself on every news channel, and you're advocating for gun control and better and more intense measures to protect people from people like Nicholas Cruz, whom I have done several videos about. Now, let's get started. But before we get into that, let's start with this interesting issue that you brought up. You thanked online trolls and conspiracy nuts for giving you more publicity. And you're right, they have. Because you understand it. I give you that. You understand that haters are probably more important to getting your name out there than your fans are. Because just look at my video titled Nefertiti was not black nor was she white, she was brown. And you'll see my point, because I mean, I have haters commenting on all that shit. And I really got a lot of viewership because of them. And I posted a lot of controversial things on my channel, a lot of politically incorrect things, and I guarantee you the haters are paying a lot more attention than the fans. Now that that's covered, David Hogg, let's move on. Okay, you want more gun control. You just go rah, 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 fight the power, no more, march for our lives and all that stuff, but you very rarely explain, so far I've only seen you once explain what exactly you mean by tighter gun control and measures to protect students from people like Nicholas Cruz, James Holmes, Stephen Paddock, Omar Mateen, and Elliot Rodger, or T.J. Lang, or the Columbine shooters, the Virginia Tech shooter. You advocated that the minimum age to buy a rifle should be raised to 21, and that people with mental illness should not be allowed to have guns. Well, I got news for you. There are not very many mass shootings to begin with, and a lot of those mass shooters were over the age of 21, such as Stephen Paddock, who was in his 60s, by the way, Omar Mateen, Elliot Rodger, Adam Lanza may have been 20, but he stole that rifle from his mother, who he killed. Not only that, you have Charles Whitman. You have a lot of mass shooters who are above the age of 21. And when you say mentally ill and people that should not have guns, felons are not permitted to have guns unless they get their rights restored. But they still manage to get them via the dark web and things like that, or the deep web, whatever you want to call it, or just asking around for some street vendor or whatever. Anyhow, moving on with that is like, who gets to make that determination about who should or should not have a gun? I mean, isn't this America? Isn't it supposed to be innocent until proven guilty? Huh? Innocent until proven guilty? That's one of the fundamental values that was established in 1776 when the Founding Fathers wrote down the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all that jazz. Innocent until proven guilty. That is probably the foundation of our American legal system. And they say, oh, and I know it's like you go, but who gets to make that determination? I mean, are there people with mood disorders, neurological disorders, personality disorders? There's just a whole slew of diagnoses in the DSM. And what disorders, in your mind, disqualify someone from owning a firearm? And you haven't really specified that. I mean, who gets to make that determination? You? Some doctor? Some forensic psychiatrist? Who gets to make these decisions? And you want a tax on firearms? You know, they've already taxed, soda in New York and things like that. They also tax cigarettes. They tax beer. They tax pretty much everything. They won't, that may even get people to want to go to the illegal side or the dark side and like I said, the dark web and illegal arms dealers because they don't want to pay the cash anymore. They don't want to pay the tax. And that's going to create a huge black market. Maybe not a huge one, but it would certainly be a damn good thing for the criminals. And here's what's really I find hilarious about you. You asked for more security measures and things to prevent mass shootings, and guess what? You got them, buddy. You got them! According to you, there are now a swarm of deputies patrolling the campus in which you attend, and you will now be required to have clear backpacks. And you're complaining, oh, it's an invasion of privacy, and the minstrels, and what about the tampons? The girls would be embarrassed about their menstrual cycles and things like that. You are clearly a social justice warrior. And and you see, you got it. You said it was like prison. Well, guess what? Numbnuts. I ain't never heard of a prison shooting. I've heard of a movie theater shooting. I've heard of a school shooting I don't know how many times. Hell, there's been club shootings, nightclub shootings. I haven't heard of a single mass shooting being committed in a prison. So guess what? You got your wish. Let that be a lesson to you, Davey. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. In any case, you advocate using white privilege. White privilege. And that should remove the doubt from anyone's mind that you are a social justice warrior. You are just completely over the top, dude. As far as white privilege goes, I would like to know where it is. It hasn't helped me any. I know that. And I am white. I am Caucasian. I am a European American. And I can attest, so I know from firsthand, doesn't really help. But you like to pretend it does. And as far as black victims go, I mean, come on. When's the last... White people get killed by police officers all the time. And I don't see any riots. If any riots or anything like Black Lives Matter is doing, I mean, Ferguson, Baltimore, and all that shit. Charlotte, North Carolina, Ferguson, Missouri, and Baltimore, Maryland, they were all torn down just because a black person was killed by a police officer. And white people get killed by cops all the time. I don't see whole cities getting destroyed just because a white person gets killed by a police officer. Even an unarmed white person. These things just don't happen. So don't tell me that nobody is making a ruckus about the deaths of people of color. They're making more of a ruckus about it. Anyway, I would like to bring up my next issue with you. And it's very, very important. I want you to understand that. God, I'm having a brain fart right now. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, what you seem to be trying to make yourself feel significant. You probably have a fear deep down that you are nobody and you want to be significant. We all crave that. Ironically, Nicholas Cruz, the guy who shot up your school, probably has a similar fear that he is nobody. And Anyway, let's look at something. Let's look at one final thing. Remember how I mentioned the riots earlier? School shootings only happen when one side has guns. Well, mass shootings in general only happen when one side has guns. There's a reason Nicholas Cruz chose your school, because it was a gun-free zone. He didn't do it at a shooting range. He didn't do it at a gun show. He did it at a school that's labeled a gun-free zone. And that's why he chose it, because he knew nobody would be around to stop him. And it's like, look at the riots in Los Angeles. I mean, many years ago, there were the Koreans and some of the other Asians. They bought rifles and they protected their stores, and it made a big influence on who did and who did not get robbed. I mean, guns have saved people's lives. That's just that simple. I mean, look what happened in Texas with Charles Whitman. He was just shooting people. And eventually some civilians came out with their deer rifles and began shooting back. And he was not able to accurately shoot anymore. He was pinned down. And Charles Whitman was an outstanding marksman. Just listen to anybody that knew anything about him, and his marksmanship skills were incredible throughout his life. There are just so many cases of this happening. And believe me, guns, the saying that the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, that's very true. Because, I mean, the police came because they had guns. Granted, a few officers did kind of take their sweet time in getting out there and kind of loafed around outside while Nicholas Cruz did his thing. However, it's like the idea that you should rely on the police to protect you is utterly bogus. The police won't get there in time to save you. And I don't think we should put any faith in the police departments. Honestly, I don't. And at least not for public safety. They're there to pick up the pieces and to catch the guys after the fact. They're there to pick up the pieces and catch the guy who did it. That's their job. They're not there to protect us, because they can't protect us from everything. The only person responsible for your safety is you. And guns allow people to protect themselves. It's just that simple. Of course, they fall into the wrong hands. That's going to happen, regardless of whether or not there's gun controls or not. Do you really want to live in a society where everybody with a gun is violating the law? I don't think so. I know I sure as hell don't. In any case, I do hope that all of you watching, whether your name is David Hogg or not, enjoyed this video. I urge you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace.